Hey my loves, and welcome back to another video. And today we have another special video. I had gotten a lot of great responses and feedback from when we did the interview with our brother-in-law Greg, the near-death experience. And we have a special guest here with us. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel, my name is Randaaleigh.
My name's Alex.
And this is Hunting the Unseen. So before we get into this video, make sure you hit that red subscribe button right there and the bell next to it to get notified every time we upload a video to this series or to any of the other series that I have on this channel. And don't forget to give this video a like and comment down below when you've subscribed. That way you can get a post notification shout out at the end of one of my videos. So without further ado, let's get into this video, guys.
Why did you let him kill me? It was the clown. Make the clown go away.
This is
Our brother, Josh.
our brother Josh, and he has had a near-death experience. So we are going to let him tell his story and ask a couple of questions. Happened, his experience, and the camera is all yours. So if you want to introduce yourself and start like from the beginning, how old you were when this happened.
Okay. All right. So my government name is Joshua Sauceda. You can call me Josh, or my nicknames are Saucy, Sushi, whatever you want to call me. I had several near-death experiences. I can go and say my first one first, before I get into the more dramatic one and more like really gonna die. But my first experience with almost dying was when I was in pre-K. I was going to school in Pasadena, Texas. And I had a dime in my pocket, and being a kid, just doing whatever, I got the dime and I put it in my mouth, and the dime slid and went into my throat, and cut off all circulation. With it being a dime, it's not very big, but then I'm in pre-K, so.
And that's crazy because I swallowed a penny before. And pennies are bigger.
Yeah.
But it came out the other end, luckily.
What?
It did. I freaked out, but it did come out the other end. But that's crazy.
So what happened was, long story short, because this isn't like the grand thing, but I freaked out and I went to the restroom. As I'm walking to the restroom, I know I'm turning pale. I'm losing all my breath, and the teacher didn't notice it and whatnot. And I went in there and I started trying to push it out, like punch my chest, do whatever. and I feel I'm losing consciousness, and I don't know what happened. It came out, boom, and that was my first experience with almost dying. And it sounds funny, like, yeah, dying, but I guess it fit perfectly where down in my throat where it got stuck. It got lodged in there. And it was weird because I'm in pre-K, and that's my first experience of like, man, I
for you
don't
being
really
that
know
young.
about death. I'm an innocent child, and death almost occurred with something as small as a dime, and it was just a weird feeling that, you know, experiencing something like that at an early age. But anyways, that's my first experience with death, and I had another one. This is gonna be a long story. All right, so my family would always do family trips on my Hispanic side at the river in New Braunfels, Texas, and we'd always do these trips at campgrounds. And if you know anything about over there, they have a huge river. And you get tubes and you go down these rivers, and it's dirty water, like dirty salt water. But it's really nice. It's cool during the summer and all that, and it's fun. Family trips and all that, whatever. And we're there one night, and everybody got drunk and partied all night, so nobody really wanted to do nothing except for my uncle. And he was like, let's go tubing down the river. I said, okay. So it was just me and him. I think I'm around 13 years old at the time.
Yeah, I was about to ask how old you are.
Yeah, I was about 13 years old at the time. And I agreed to go with them. My uncle, he's the youngest of my uncles and aunts. So he's still kind of young at that time, so full of energy. And we're like, yeah, let's go. So anyways, we get our tubes, we go down the river, and if you know anything about the river, it's very dangerous. People die all the time. Every summer's down over there. They drown. They jump off of cliffs and they hit their heads on stuff. They die. There's tons and tons of deaths every year over there.
He's living like two!
Yeah, and like I've been to the one, where did you say you went to? New Braunfels?
New Braunfels, right outside of San Antonio.
So Garner State Park.
Garner State Park, I believe that's more, it's more north from there. But yeah, that's a really nice park as well.
They have one where if you slide off that little raft thing they give you,
you're a goner.
Yeah, it sucks you right under. Yeah. And the rocks that are there, I mean, that's crazy. So did you slide off of it?
So what happened was we get on the tubes, and you know, everybody there's in party mode. You know, there's and it's all different ages, but the young kids, they got like they got a float, and then they got a float next to them tied, and then they got Jello shots, and it's a big party. Like, girls are naked on their tubes and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going with my uncle. My uncle don't care. Like, we're just like we're
crazy
chilling.
What you see on the rivers.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I remember being like younger the time before, and I seen a girl giving a guy a blowjob. And yeah, I mean, this is on the river. I mean, it gets crazy. It's fun. It's amazing time, especially if you're like in that age.
If you're at 13, seeing somebody getting
yeah, I seen a lot of live tits out there.
Teats?
Some breastises that I had never seen before
in
person.
My gosh.
But anyways, so yeah, we're going down there. And there's parts of the river where the rapids get really, really, really strong.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Very, very strong. I mean, it's even for a grown man to walk against the rapids. It's almost impossible sometimes, and the river gets narrow. You know, it's a natural river, so it carved itself into the land over time, and so we're in a group of people that just, you know, sometimes you just float and you get kind of stuck on a tube, and y'all just ride for hours on this river, and we get stuck with a group of about 20 to 30 tubes, and my uncle's like, it's gonna get bad up there, and when it gets bad like that, when it's a strong rapid and it gets thinner, like it's not as wide, you know, it can cause problems like what's about to happen. So we get to this part, and as soon as we hit those tough rapids, I go under automatically. I go under, and I knew that was like that meme, like, you know, you fucked up.
It's a 13 and up.
Okay. Well, still, my apologies if you take offense to what I say. I don't mean it personally. So I go under. I know I fucked up, and I start drowning. And that water it's not always deep, but this part is pretty deep. I would say it's about 6 to 7 feet deep at this particular part, and the water is so. If you know anything about salt water from the Gulf of Mexico, it's darker. I mean, you can see probably within that much, you can probably see light and stuff like that. So I'm down there, and all I see is like the bottom of floats and feet and stuff like that, and I'm trying to grab, and I pretty much start losing consciousness really quickly. I start losing consciousness, and then the weird stuff starts happening. I'm guessing I'm sucking in a bunch of water and everything, and I start having visions like when people say your life flashes before your eyes. I know exactly what that means.
Evidence thus far suggests that in the first few minutes after death, consciousness is not annihilated. Whether it fades away afterwards, we do not know, but right after death, consciousness is not lost.
You will find out. It'll pose the next question to you. What was it like to wake up after having never gone to sleep? That was when you were born.
So I started having visions of, the first vision I had was, I don't know when, but I know it happened in my lifetime, where I was holding hands with my sister as a youth, and we're walking in these apartments that we lived in, and I remember it vividly, but I don't remember it, if that makes any sense.
So how old like if you had to guess how old, because we know sister is, y'all are how many years apart?
I believe like 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years, something like 2 years, 2.5 years. I don't know, somewhere in there.
Okay, so if you had to guess about how old,
I had to have been probably like 6, and her 4, 3, something like that, where she's barely walking. And I just, like I said, the vision is like I'm holding her hand, and it's weird because it's not even just a vision. It feels like I'm there. It feels real. Like I feel the heat of my sister's hands. I feel the pavement that I'm walking on. It's a really pretty day outside. I'm pretty sure it was the apartments that I stayed in when I was a kid in Pasadena. And then as soon as that happened, as soon as that vision, it seemed like I was in that vision for a good minute. And it's impossible because I'd be dead right now. I would have drowned it if it was an actual minute-long vision. Mm-hmm. But as soon as that vision was over, I had another vision where my grandfather, he's passed now, it was a vision of I'm in his truck. And he always had this green truck my whole life, and I'm driving with him down the dike. And if anybody doesn't know what the dike is, where I'm from, Texas City, Texas, it's a very popular attraction over here. It's the largest man-made dike in the world, and it's not what you think. It's a 2-way road. And on both sides you have the Gulf of Mexico. One side is a beach area, the other side is more of like a fishing rock boat dock area.
Yeah, and it's like the port where like ships come in and delivers
oil rigs
cargo
and stuff like that. Yeah, the cargo, things of that nature. So I had a vision of that, and it seemed like that was a good 30-second vision. But obviously, again, if I would have been down there just 30 seconds, I would have died. And it's not like I was really a healthy kid. I was a fat boy back then too.
Yeah, but especially if you're panicking.
Panicking as well.
Did you
having
feel,
all that water.
Did you feel anything? Like, did you feel adrenaline? Did you feel?
I mean, yeah. When you're in a situation like that, initially, yes, and that's probably the worst thing you can have, adrenaline, because when you're drowning, because you're sucking in water, you're panicking, your breathing patterns begin to fade even worse.
Yeah. Like during the visions, you felt the adrenaline?
Well, during the visions, I felt calm. Like I said, I mean, just even the first vision alone I had with holding my sister. You know, if anybody knows me, I love my sister dearly. And even back then, like, I've always been close with my sister. And back then, like, having just that one in particular, it made me feel calm. But I know I'm drowning, though. I know I'm drowning.
So you know, you're aware that you're drowning.
Yeah.
Okay, that's crazy.
And then I had that vision with my grandfather, and I had another vision. I can't remember what the exact vision was, but as soon as I had that last vision, it's weird because I'm down there. I'm down there drowning, and I believe I opened up my eyes. Actually, I know I opened up my eyes, and it was like almost like a 3-foot circle. There was a light, and I looked at that light, and a hand went down and reached, and I grabbed the hand, and I got pulled up. And this is this will tell you how much of a distance I traveled underwater. So I was in the very front of the pack of when we got all bunched up in that bad rapid. I started in the very front and I ended up all the way in the very back. And this, mind you, this is 20 to 30 people filled. Everybody's sitting down in these tubes, and I ended up in the very back. So it had to have been a good distance of me drowning and whatnot. And I seen the hand, I grabbed it, and pulled me out. I don't even know how the hand seen me.
Did you spit up water when
yes.
you got pulled up?
Once I got pulled up, there was conveniently there was a rock, a huge rock where my uncle was sitting there freaking like panicking, like where's my nephew?
Of course, yeah.
And they pulled me up, and I started coughing up water and stuff like that, and that was another weird one because I'm still only 13 years old, somewhere around there, and I have a really weird near-death experience as well, which most people even that age don't really experience.
So was it your uncle that pulled you up?
No, it was just a random guy.
Oh, and your uncle was right there?
Yeah, he was on the boulder looking for me, like, because you can't see everybody. So it's a float, right? It's a big old black balloon that you sit your ass in.
Yeah.
And on the bottom of it, there's a plastic because sometimes the water is so shallow, you'll ride your ass against rocks
and
it'll hurt if that plastic's not there.
Yeah.
So you can't see once it's so congested, and then on top of that, you got people sitting down, and the plastic, you cannot see underneath that water.
So for people who have not been there, how does the water look? Is it murky? Is it dark? Is it clear?
Yeah, it's Gulf of Mexico water, it's salt water, so it's
murky, like
it's murky. Like it's not murky where you don't want to get in it. Like it's
tinted. You can't see through that
tinted,
water, so
yes.
nobody would even knew you.
Like I said, like you would be able to see visibly out of the water if you stuck your head, like say you were looking up and the water, top of the water's right here. You would only be able to see out of it that much probably. That's how murky or brown or whatever the color of the water is.
So if nobody even saw you go under, you would have been under there dead.
Yeah, so I'm guessing my uncle, what I'm thinking, I never even really talked to him about this. Like, it was so weird after that happened. Like, we kind of just, like, never talked about it or just,
really?
we, like, looked at each other and was like, I can't believe that happened the way it happened, and we left it at that. And we never spoke about it after, like, we came to a silent agreement that we would just keep that to ourselves, I guess.
And And people get PTSD from stuff like that, man. And you
Like
could
being
have,
afraid to go back into water.
well, you could have a little bit of PTSD, you know, that affects you. You might not know, you know. And man, bro, I'm glad you're here, you know, because you know we wouldn't have ever met you, of course, but you know, and Josh is like family for the people watching. He is family. He's our brother, like, you know, since years and years since we grew up. Like we damn near grew up together, you know, and I'm glad you're here, man.
And his sister pretty much lived with us. With me.
But so how'd you feel once you got out the water and onto land, and
Man,
you said you spit up water?
I felt full. I felt full of water. That's what I felt like. I felt like there was stuff in there, obviously, and it naturally came out.
Like, were you scared and like shaking?
No, I wasn't shaking. I was just like, man, I almost died.
Yeah.
And like, what the hell was I seeing? Or what was I experiencing? That's what I was thinking at that age. Yeah. You know, that age, you're a child. You don't think these things. Yeah. You don't think things through. It's like
until you get older and you think back, like, man, I can't imagine, bro.
But this experience never lingers with me. I tell a few people every once in a while because I'll remember it, but I don't dwell on it. It happened, and I'm like, man, that's really weird. But I can't really explain it. But I know it happened.
Yeah.
Crazy, because those are like the two biggest fears people have, is drowning and suffocating.
Yeah. Yep. Which ultimately are the same thing, but you know, drowning, you know, you're getting full of water too. You're getting heavier, you know, and you could sink, you know, and sink even further. Luckily, you didn't ingest, I don't know how far the rocks. You said they weren't that far, right?
Well, this particular part, it was deep.
It was deep.
It was deep. It varied. Like it was just. It's a natural river, so it's gonna carve. It's gonna carve where it wants to carve, and I guess, you know, certain, like I said, some parts are so low where it's ankle deep, and then there's some parts where it's deep.
Yeah.
I just so happened to get at the worst spot and the worst outcome without dying, but yeah.
So did you know how to swim?
Yes, I've always man, being Hispanic.
Yeah.
But I guess going
your parents just
threw
me in the water, man. Like, man, you better learn fast or die young, pretty much. And that's kind of funny. We're talking about death and stuff. Yeah, that's how Hispanic culture is.
So you knew how to swim at that time.
But going if he would have, because when you go through the rapids,
it's a
they're
different
so
experience.
fast, you get sucked under. So if he went under all 20 of those people and couldn't find a way up, you know,
that's what I mean. Like, these rapids are so strong. I mean, I remember as a kid, there are certain parts, like we stayed at a spot, a camping ground where that directly below it, the rapids were really strong right there. And I remember seeing grown men all the time trying to fight that current. And these are big men, you know. Just for fun, and they can't do it, man. It exhausts them. So this was probably one of the worst rapids, and then on top of that, it just sucks you under. It's almost like you hear over here at the dike, people drowning, they get stuck on their undertoes. That stuff's real. That water will just suck you in, man, and you can't do nothing about it. You're for most part, people just die.
No, you're not gonna win against that water, man.
No, absolutely not.
You're not gonna overpower that.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, and it's a blessing. So like, with that experience, do you believe that, like, first, do you believe in afterlife? Like, what are your aspects on afterlife?
Afterlife. Well, I feel like there is something, because at the end of the day, we are carcasses, and something is controlling these carcasses. So I feel like, you know, when we die, we are just carcasses. We're flesh and bone, and then after that, it's nothing. So something that's trapped inside of us, it has to be some kind of energy. It has to be. It has to be some kind of energy. Yeah,
some people may interpret that as spirits, you know. And
right.
that's what spirits, you know, are pretty much is energy.
It has to go somewhere. I mean,
So,
it has to go somewhere.
They know there's energy in the brain, so that's pretty spot on what I believe. So yeah, energy, man.
Do you feel though like as if somebody was with you at that moment?
No.
Giving you those give you.
It definitely not. It was just like I said, like the life flashing before your eyes. That was the experience. Like, and it had to have only been maybe 10 seconds. I'm underneath there, and it felt like I was having visions for multiple minutes. So when they say like it happened so quick, but it's not. It's like dying in slow motion. But I'm reincarnating some events that I went through prior to me essentially almost dying.
I remember we talked about this the other day. We kind of brushed over this topic. Remember, I asked you a question. I want to ask you again since, you know, we have the camera. Did your mind, like, it forced you to have those visions, right? Like, or did you feel like you just started thinking about that, or you couldn't do nothing about it, right? You couldn't snap out of those visions at that moment, or could you?
Nah, definitely not. It was like, I hate to go like full Joe Rogan, but there's a theory out there that says like when you're about to die, your body releases DMT, diethylmethyltryptamine, and supposedly those are what your heaven and hells are. It's your body's natural reaction to death, and it releases it, and that's where some people like. That's where they go their afterlife. There's the chemicals being released when you pass, and going through something like that, I don't know. 'Cause I definitely couldn't control it, but that theory kind of it resonated with me because I experienced something like that, and I knew. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just happened.
It's weird. Yeah, it just happened.
And for you to have that calming state.
Yeah, at that moment.
Yeah, being so calm. I remember that. Like, there was a sense of, what's the best word I can use other than calm? Like, it's just, yes, it was extremely calming.
Like relief
or
something, or like...
I think just the fact that a lot of those visions were with somebody that I truly, I love.
Yeah.
My sister and my grandfather. Those are some of the most people that I generally like super love. Super love. But,
man. Well.
You asked me with my experience.
Would you rather drown or, you know, burn alive? Because I hear that question asked a lot. You know, on YouTube, on the internet. You know, you going through what you went through. You know what. You know, I don't know.
After seeing a video on YouTube of that girl being burned to death, I'd rather personally drown.
Yeah.
If there's like a calming sensation of drowning,
yeah.
I would rather, because I don't know if Josh had seen that video, but that was so disturbing.
But just if you had to...
Like hypothetically speaking?
Yes, exactly.
For sure, I would 100%... I mean, I don't know if y'all can see that. I burnt myself on the oven the other day. And that alone was worse than me fucking drowning. In that, like, so if that tells you anything, I would 100%, if I had to go between those two, drowning, without a doubt. Because I didn't really feel any physical pain. It was more like quick suffering, and then then the experience happened, and that's it. This suffering, just this one little burn. And I'm not trying to make like too much of a joke about it, because I've seen people with really bad, and my heart goes out to them. But give me the fucking water.
Yeah.
Give me the water all day, every day, man.
Yeah.
That fire, that is just...
Nothing.
That sounds like one of the worst, horrible things you can go through, man.
Yeah. I've seen the video of what they did to that girl on YouTube, and I don't even see how they were able to keep that on YouTube, because that was just so disturbing. Okay, guys, so now we are going to use the spirit box, and this is the PSB7. And I have my mic right here. So what this does is you can play it in a regular forward speed. It scans through, like, depending on the speed, 5 to 10 stations per second. And what I do is I'll put it on the highest speed to where it'll scan at least up to 10 stations per second, but I do it in reverse. So any phrases or words, anything that is like validating, you have to remember it's in reverse. So there should be no words or anything coming through.
Unless it's a spirit.
Unless it's a spirit. And so we are going to try and get a couple of validations. And some of what I'm going to be asking, only our brother Josh knows. That way, if he hears it, you know, me and Alex don't know, and it will be a validation. So I will cut this part out because it will be loud. Oh, I need to, before I do this. So, do we all give permission for spirits to communicate with us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And any physical touch?
Yes.
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay. We give any spirits here permission to communicate with us